Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. £50,000. My name's Sush.
My name is James.
It's not 50 grand, though, is it?
No, wrong podcast.
That's on a Monday. That's on a Monday. Everyone who listens to this, I'm sure, will know Fergie and Paul smashing it at the top. Only because we let them, James. We thought we'd let them have this season.
Of course, absolutely.
Next season's ours.
I mean, to say that we're rooting for them both would probably be a severe
Understatement.
Paul is first and second, and Fergie is third. I mean, that is unbelievable. Virtual round of applause, lads. Well done.
Indeed.
Be sickening for them if one of them don't win it now, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, the statistically, they're probably unlikely to win it.
I think one of them will do it. I mean, for
Fergie
as well.
It's one of them where, because you remember we had this same situation with Dave last season, right? He's all the way going up to the finish line where he was second, Dave Perrins, at simple goal, and the topsy-turvy nature of it on the last couple of weeks can just be mad with someone coming in with a captaincy. So it's one of those where, but I really think it'll be the last week where everything gets decided, and anything can happen. It's such a madness.
What we don't know is obviously if there's someone sitting in eighth or something who's got like 20 transfers left or something. I mean, I don't know how many Paul and Fergie have got left either, to be honest. But if Fergie wins it, considering he's already won Dream Team as well, it's got to make him one of the best fantasy managers ever, hasn't it? To win two different formats.
Yeah. GOAT status come in.
But I know Paul, I've not spoke to Fergie recently. I know Paul's definitely buying us beers. So go on, Paul. They've got to have a great chance. Obviously, I had Niall on the pod a couple of weeks ago. Niall Murphy, amazing Sky manager. He's 12th, but he gave me the impression that he thought he probably didn't have enough transfers left to win it. And he's 12th.
Do you know what? I'm regretting making mistakes this season. And when I say making mistakes, I don't mean buying the wrong player. I mean missing fucking deadlines or missing transfers.
Oh, you haven't again, have you?
No, I haven't. Well, I did fuck up a captaincy last week, but it wasn't the end of the world. Was it Man United Brentford? I had it on Tony for some reason, and I wanted to have it on Rashford. Was that last week? Wednesday?
Last Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, I had it on... no, it wasn't that day. It can't have been that day. Either way, I wanted to captain Rashford, and I had it on someone else that day.
Well done.
I feel like, exactly that. Brentford, Man United on the Wednesday. I had it on Tony, and I wanted it on Rashford. But anyway, could have been worse. But there's a number of transfers I've missed this season. I missed picking up Maddison on a Monday night, pre-World Cup. I remember.
Weren't you lucky?
No,
you're talking about ages ago when he went off against Forest.
Yeah. I missed David Raya going in on a Monday night. I missed Mo Salah for that 7-0 game as well. Anyway, it is what it is. This is a learning experience. I see this as my first full season in Sky. Last season we played, but I was particularly shit.
How do we change that for you?
I don't know. I don't care enough. So whenever I miss the deadline, it's because I've been doing something else.
Yeah.
Right? So it's something else, and it's something else that enjoyable that I've completely forgotten about football. Totally. So, but yeah, I reckon I'd be top 100 right now if I'd not made those mistakes. But also, I'd have fewer transfers, and the butterfly effect. You don't know where you would be. But I've had a solid couple of weeks, James. I'm in the top 500 now, 481,
nice.
Which is not too bad. The previous week, which was game week 35, I clocked 131 points, sorry, which was not too bad. That got me up to about 680. And then this weekend just gone, I scored 106. So I decided to ditch. Danny Ings obviously got dropped for the Newcastle game, and I'd bought him on a punt. And I thought, I know it's Fulham, but the big man's got to come back. So I sold Danny Ings for Haaland on the Saturday, knowing there's no fixture game, but I was going to armband Haaland. That's obviously paid off particularly well for me. And I only owned 2 players on the Sunday, Gabriel in defence and another Gabriel in midfield in Martinelli. So I had no choice but to unban Martinelli. So
no, you
that
did
was
have a choice.
particularly,
I
could have got Gabriel, but I decided, it's home fixture at Anfield. So Liverpool scoring's likelihood. So I went with Martinelli for the upside. And it paid off quite well. I had Kane and Tony both returned. Tony could have returned a lot more. Enzo Fernandez and Bruno Fernandez, 7 points each, double tier each. So I think Bruno was a shot tier and a passing tier, and Enzo was a passing tier and a tackle tier. So 7 points each from those two was pretty decent.
Enzo definitely got both. I don't recall Bruno Fernandez getting both.
Bruno picked up shot tier and pass tier. And at the back, Lewis Dunk with a goal, which was pretty decent, and a passing tier, and Nick Pope in goal for me, mate, with a penalty save. So
the penalty save.
106 overall was pretty decent. So it's got me up to 481st, James. I'm about 17.
Good, mate.
Yeah, decent.
Could push for the 100 here.
Easy, yeah. Top 100, I'm going to be, is a minimum expectation for me right now. And top 50 would be everything going really well. I've kind of got a plan as well, James, so pretty kind of straightforward. But tell us how your game week is and I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
I'd rather not.
Was it bad?
Talk about yours. I mean, I didn't get Haaland back, so 70 for me this week. Who did I even I captained Harry Saturday, so at least I got something out of it. I made a couple of transfers on Sunday. I kind of brought forward my Liverpool plan because of issues I had. So I'd sold Marcus Rashford on Sunday. I decided to take the chance and went, okay, let's say he even is available to Forest. There's a big gap again till that Tottenham fixture on Thursday 27th. So I decided to bring forward getting Mo Salah in. And I put Darwin Núñez in for James Maddison as well, because he just wasn't doing it. And I may even skip Leicester versus Everton now on Monday the 1st to just look a mess, Leicester. So I brought forward the plan to get a couple of Liverpool in. I did captain Mo Salah Sunday. I mean, it helped me because I would have captained Saka otherwise. So I guess what I lost out on Saturday with Haaland, I kind of maybe got back on some with Mo Salah on the Sunday. And I know it was quite split between Salah and Saka on the Sunday, but otherwise, like, I didn't have a lot this week. I had Kane goal, Watkins goal, Lewis Dunk goal, Solly March assist. There was nothing else going on for me this week.
No tearing points or anything like that? Nothing exciting like that?
Well, Lewis Dunk passing tier, but even
Pass tier 1.
He was in the 60s. It's almost the most shocking statistic of the weekend, considering our Tottenham play. I think what happened there was the game was so bitty. I've not seen back how often, how much the ball was in play, but the game became very bitty, which is, I guess, to Tottenham's credit, that destabilised Brighton's pattern a bit, although Brighton obviously should have won. As covered on yesterday's podcast, I'm not going to repeat myself on refereeing decisions. But nothing going on there. I mean, look, a number of Arsenal away to Liverpool, I didn't have high expectations on it. I haven't got Martinelli, so even that, I'm missing out. My 3 Arsenal haven't matched Martinelli's goal, for example. So it's going to be a difficult weekend. I'm probably going to be quite nicely set for next weekend. I'm down to 10 transfers, 1,835. Probably going to be touch and go whether I can hit that top 1,000 or not.
This is the point of the season where the experienced managers now make up the majority of the top rankings. And so, it does become harder to keep climbing up through the ranks. We've had one fixture change, James, since last week. In the Chelsea-Arsenal game has really annoyingly moved from the Saturday to the Tuesday.
Not the only fixture change. Why is it annoying? Why is it annoying in the first instance?
Well, had they stayed on the Saturday, it made it a very easy decision for me to steam into Arsenal on Sunday for West Ham, get a 4-for-1, including the Chelsea game, against a number of people, and then the re-entry point to Manchester City being the day after for Fulham was nice. I like the fact that I can come off Haaland, I can come off some other players like Lewis Dunk, and I was getting, in essence, a 4-for-1 or a 4-for-2 with a bit of captaincy from Arsenal. And then that Sunday was a really nice entry point to City when they have a really good run in. So the fact that Chelsea game's moved later means the switch isn't as straightforward as it looked originally.
Okay. I think the ones that is probably most notable, the fact that it's moved from the 5:30 to the Tuesday is Brighton. Is who it impacts the most, because now on that Saturday the 29th, there's only 3 games. You got Brentford against Forest, Brighton against Wolves, and there's another game. Oh, yourselves against
Palace
at Selhurst Park. So, okay, maybe those have gone on for an Elise or Eze might be looking at that, but I think Brighton is probably the one. Lewis Dunk now is probably the most captain player that day, isn't he? Saturday 29th.
Yeah, and it's a good tie at home to Wolves as well.
And look, if you've got nothing, there is an entry point Wednesday the 26th. If you're perhaps going to move it on from, say, a Watkins to a Dunk or a Leicester player, perhaps from that Tuesday night to the Wednesday night. But yeah, there's more consciousness of Brighton now. And obviously from that point, they've got extra fixtures, certainly from Wednesday 26th. But I guess a few might have had in their plans to come off what they had after the Chelsea game this weekend, or maybe already have. But I guess those people will also think, I'm going back to Brighton for something at some stage anyway. So it just pushes through and confirms that a little bit more. Quite sneaky, actually. Shout out our friend Talon Nadeem, who spotted, I want to say last Friday, spotted that something wasn't quite right, because Sky had announced Norwich versus West Brom in the Championship for 5:30, the same time as that Arsenal-Chelsea game. And he smelt a rat. Something that doesn't, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they put it 7:45 or something like that? So he became quite suspicious about that Arsenal-Chelsea fixture. And sure enough, it kind of became quite early yesterday that it was going to get moved. Apparently it's been moved due to a request from the Metropolitan Police. I have to say, the cynic in me suggests that the movement of the fixture is absolutely brilliant for Arsenal's title challenge, considering the game originally would have been 3 days after playing Man City. They've now got 6 days, and then they've got another 5 days afterwards till they play Newcastle. So the spacing of their fixtures is better, which I guess probably helps the Sky assets in terms of possible rotation. But I think there could be anyway, as Trossard's a competitive asset. But the front three that played at Liverpool will be the front three predominantly going forward. I think the Met asked for it to move. The only thing I can think is, obviously, they're all going to be working the following Saturday, aren't they? With the King's coronation on May the 6th. So I don't know if there was we don't want too many of our officers working consecutive Saturdays or so. That's the only thing I can think. Because obviously it already moved to the 5:30, and that would have had the police tick to move it for a game like that. It's a London derby. They'd have had to give it a nod. They've obviously changed their mind on it. This is why you remember about weeks ago I spoke to you saying, is it possible things like Tottenham versus Palace on May the 6th could get brought forward to the week before for similar reasons? That's obviously not the case, but that Arsenal-Chelsea game is now a single game day fixture, Tuesday the 2nd. It's not the only fixture announcement in the last week's surge, because we had match day 36 announced with 3 fixtures moving from Saturday the 13th. Those are Arsenal against Brighton is now the 4:30 on Sunday the 14th. Everton versus Manchester City is now the 2 p.m. And Leicester versus Liverpool is a single game day, Monday the 15th. It means Leicester play on 3 consecutive Mondays. Yay. A note on the Manchester City fixture and those fixtures that weekend. There were 3 fixtures in that weekend that can still move. Manchester City's fixture against Everton or their fixture against Leeds will definitely move should they make a Champions League semi-final. They obviously won 3-0 last night against Bayern, so that's highly probable.
Good win.
They were great. Highly probable that one of those fixtures will move. Obviously, they're going to play on one of those Tuesdays, either after Leeds or after Everton. So one of those fixtures is going to move back to a Saturday evening slot. Which one? Can't tell you. Certainly from my perspective, I'd probably rather it was the Everton fixture that moved back rather than the Leeds, because I'm looking at moving Liverpool players to Man City players on Sunday the 7th, something to be cautious of. And 2 of the Saturday the 13th fixtures could move to the Sunday. Those are Manchester United against Wolves and Brentford against West Ham. And that's because of obviously United and West Ham's potential respective involvement in European competition. The weekend before they play each other, and that's already been moved to a Sunday evening slot. Not a problem. That's your fixture changes. Obviously, we can expect after that midweek of following Leicester Liverpool is most likely, obviously, even more so following City's result last night, Newcastle Brighton, to go into that midweek either Wednesday the 17th or Thursday the 18th. Can't be Tuesday the 16th. Not that that particularly matters from a Sky perspective. And then we've only got the 37 fixtures to go. Man United, Chelsea will obviously go into that midweek afterwards, and Brighton and Man City. If City get through, we'll go into that midweek as well. I suspect the Sunday fixtures probably will be Forest against Arsenal and Man City against Chelsea. You would think that's probably what they want to do with it. But I at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they put, say, Forest against Arsenal on the Monday night. Purely because I think because City will have the game in hand, they probably want City to go first. So they level up the amount of games played, at least briefly. Yep. Should we talk about games from weekend?
Well, let me just tell you what my thoughts are on my transfer plan, James.
Yeah, I'll do it.
If I'm crazy.
I'll tell you mine as well, I suppose.
Well, as it stands at the moment, when I look at my team, I'm like entry points, exit points. So Nick Pope and Kieran Trippier, double defensive. I don't see any need to move them on because their fixtures drip feed along. Like they've got no big gaps necessarily. Looking further ahead, I know Tottenham at home, you'd say it's an easy game for them. And on current form, actually, you'd expect them to beat you and every chance of a clean sheet. But then they go into Everton, Southampton.
You'll hear a lot more of that on tomorrow's Clash of Correspondents, by the way, about what Newcastle will probably do to Tottenham.
But yeah, so I don't see any need to move them on, and there's no fixture gain elsewhere to come off them. I've got two Arsenal and Gabriel and Martinelli. They're staying as well, James, for now. Like I've got no need to move them on. I had earmarked moving Lewis Dunk on. Because there was fixture gains to be had. They've got obviously the blank. That may change because of the Forest Wolves games now, and particularly if I'm going to captain him against Wolves. But I may still jump on and just go back in when I need him. In midfield, though, all of them can go. So Enzo Fernandez, Bruno Fernandes, and Marcus Rashford will go this week. I'll sell Enzo after Brighton, and I'll be moving him to Saka. I'll be selling Bruno and Rashford, and I'll be buying Salah and or VVD or a defender from Liverpool. Harry Kane is expendable now after Bournemouth. Newcastle, Man United, Liverpool is the next three. Do I need him? No. And I'd rather steam into Gabriel Jesus, if I'm honest with you. So I think I'm going to get rid of Harry Kane. Ivan Toney is frustrating because they drip feed along quite nicely. So whether or not I'm going to sell Ivan Toney, I'm not 100% sure, but he may go. And Erling Haaland is expendable. After the Leicester game, I'll skip Arsenal and I'll go back in for Fulham. So Kane, Haaland, Enzo, Bruno, and Rashford definitely all going. I'll probably this week, and my preference is to buy 3 Arsenal and 2 Liverpool.
Nice.
And that's it. So
you're spunking it a bit this week. How many Arsenal will you have then?
5.
So then what's the plan after they play Southampton on Friday the 21st?
I'll probably come off maybe 1 or 2, depending on form and fixtures. Maybe come off 1 or 2, but I want to hold them all through City if I can, to be honest with you. Like that exit point for me was the Chelsea game was lovely. They play on the Saturday against Chelsea, and then I can go to City, I can go to Man United, I can go to Liverpool. Loads of exit points there. It's moved now, isn't it? Really, so I need to rethink that.
There are re-entry points for Arsenal, and it might even be, like I said, if that Forest game was to move, especially to say the Monday. Although it would obviously be right near the end of the season, you could make a case that actually every remaining Arsenal game after the Southampton game does have a re-entry point, technically, because it wouldn't have any Saturday fixtures left, and even the midweek fixture at City is not night 1 of that midweek. But it does sort of feel like with Arsenal that this Sunday kind of feels like maybe the last time to go back, and then what you keep, you keep. And what you sell, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, depending on like I've got so many transfers. My plan then is when we get to Fulham away for Man City on Sunday the 30th, just by 5 of the bastards. Like literally just go all in, because that Fulham, West Ham, Leeds, Everton run for them is fill your boots time for Man City, particularly attacking. So I've got 4 or 5 transfers lined up there, 4 or 5 transfers for this weekend going into Liverpool and Arsenal. That still leaves me like 8 or 9 to figure out what I'm going to do. I'll probably have a Leicester Everton player for that single game day, but it'll probably be a daisy chain for me. So I may, for example, come off Salah, get Maddison, captain him, and then move it on to an Arsenal player, or maybe not Salah, because I might want to captain him against Fulham, but VVD, for example. I'll find a daisy chain.
The one I was thinking with Leicester, if I do decide to go back, was actually an Arsenal player to a Leicester player, Maddison, say Saturday 22nd, and get Leicester at home to Wolves, away to Leeds, the Monday night at home to Everton, and all you'll miss of Arsenal is away to Man City.
Yeah. And
so
I'm hoping
do that.
Clearly, obviously,
be 4 for 1 with a captaincy.
By the time we get to Wednesday, the 26th, I'm hoping we'll have a little bit more clarity around Brighton's rearranged fixtures as well.
Well, I think Man City give us that last night, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think that, when do you think that their fixtures will be?
I think Brighton Newcastle will be Wednesday the 17th of May or Thursday the 18th at fixture at St James's Park, obviously. And the Manchester City fixture, I think it could be any of the 23rd, 24th, 25th of May, but I think it's more 24th is probably the most likely. But I don't think the what day that is there from a pattern in terms of transfers isn't going to make a lot of difference to you.
So people with fewer transfers left may be looking at Wednesday the 26th against Forest as a good entry point for Brighton, because of their fixture pile up between that point and the end of the season. Like, you'll get more fixtures out of them than anybody else if you're kind of low on transfers into them.
Even if you miss it and you want to do more, you've got Thursday the 4th of May, the single game day at home to Manchester United. You've got Monday the 8th is another definite captaincy, really. They're at home to Everton. The other fixtures that day are Fulham, Leeds, and Nottingham Forest versus Southampton. So there's a few Brighton captaincies in there as well. I mean, arguably, especially if Rashford wasn't, we don't know his injury status at the time of recording, but if he wasn't back for Thursday the 4th, I think I'd captain a Brighton player over a Manchester United player on May the 4th. I mean, I'll probably be without Manchester United in that case.
We're concentrating the conversation around just a handful of teams in terms of Arsenal, City, Liverpool, United, a bit Brighton.
It's those with the extra
Newcastle.
Fixtures. This is the Sky Manager mindset.
Are we blind to something like Palace?
Crystal Palace last Sunday? Yeah, I did tell you to buy. I did tell you to buy Wilfried Zaha. Yeah, I don't look so stupid now, do I?
Did he play?
No, injured, didn't he?
I know,
but the idea was right.
Well, yeah, but Southampton, Everton, Wolves, West Ham is decent.
But it's gone. You should have done it last Sunday. Leicester,
okay, Man City, but after that, Wolves, Leeds, Everton. I think a lot of people are thinking about skipping that single game day. Me included, as potentially one of them.
Which one?
The Leicester Everton single game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, when it was announced, you'll go, I want Maddison, Leicester home to Everton. But now you're like, I mean, make a case, even if you're looking to cover something for that. Another option might be talk about, chaining things. Might even be, if you look at Thursday the 27th, that's potentially a problem now. So if you consider you've sold or selling Rashford.
I'll be selling Rashford after Forest. And if he's not available for the Forest game, well, either way, if he's not available, I'll be moving him to an Arsenal player.
I mean, if he's, I've already sold. If he's back for that night against Tottenham,
in Sky.
Yeah.
Oh, you said.
Yeah, I've sold him. Yeah. If he's back for that Tottenham fixture Thursday 27th, I'll get Rashford back. I won't hesitate about doing it. It'll be worth doing, I think. But you got Bournemouth, Southampton, Everton, Newcastle the other night. Now, if people are selling Rashford and Kane are not going back there, because I don't think there's much case to probably go back to Tottenham, considering they go to Liverpool 3 days later. And if Rashford's unavailable, like, what do you really want there? You need to keep Newcastle in your mind. But if you don't, you could make the case there to go and buy someone like Jordan Pickford, home to Newcastle the Thursday night, then the Leicester on the Monday, move it on to someone who's playing the midweek. So I think most people will still end up going with something. over that period, because I think that Everton the Thursday night, you could make a case for someone like Pickford, 3-for-1 with an effective captaincy, chain it onto someone else with the extra fixtures in the midweek, whether that's Steele, Alisson, Ederson, heaven forbid, Ramsdale, whatever you want.
Why not go even crazier, James? Because then you look at Bournemouth, like West Ham, Southampton, Leeds. 2 of them are home fixtures, West Ham and Leeds. So entry point on a Sunday into West Ham. Captain Dominic Solanke against Southampton on that day that you mentioned, when Rashford and Kane are not going to be available. Play them against Leeds and then move it on. But those 3 fixtures, if this was earlier in the season, pre-World Cup, you feel like maybe a three-game dip-in, dip-out punt might be worth it.
Yeah, but the Bournemouth player to buy would probably be Philip Billing, actually.
Correct.
7.1 in midfield. But you say, we're concentrating on certain teams, but we are, because you've got McAllister, Casado, March, Mitoma. I'm not picking Billing over any of them when it's zero use to me from a captaincy perspective. Okay, yeah, maybe that could be Thursday 27th or Sunday 23rd. Maybe we'll have another discussion about Bournemouth this time next week ahead of them playing yourselves. But I don't think you're going there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate to other teams other than the ones that we just seem to continuously focus around.
It's probably more a focus about when do you sell what you've got of the other teams. So if you take, I'll give you an example. So Raya, there will still be in a number of teams, I should imagine. His ownership top 1,000, 56.7%, right? He's probably not staying in the majority of teams till the end of the season, just because there are fixture gains somewhere. So one consideration for me is what I've mentioned previously, is going to Alisson Monday night. I look at that and I'm doubtful of it. So I've got Alisson against Leeds, Forest, West Ham, where over the same period, Raya plays Villa, Chelsea, Forest. Then I could go to Alisson again if I still want to make that move. Or I've got another choice of different keepers, like I mentioned, Ederson, Pickford the Monday night, whatever I fancy. So although I was thinking originally Raya to Alisson this Monday night, I'm probably more likely to hold on to that for a little while, because I think it's close enough. Delay it and open up my choices for something else. If fucking hell, yeah, Liverpool really are bad defensively. Watkins will be in a number of teams at the moment, right? Over 50% of the top 1,000 now have been on a super run. My plan is to move him to Haaland on Wednesday the 26th. So it's probably more, what have you got investment on these other teams and how far do they stay with you? Like, I mean, Kane is another one. I think probably that's a sell. That's a sell to United, Arsenal, or Liverpool player after this weekend in most cases. I wouldn't have to fear, like I said, I need Kane captaincy Sunday 23rd at Newcastle. No. I mean, the best captaincy that day, by the way, if you want a different name, Suj, be someone like Alexander Isak, maybe. Who, again, you could go and buy Sunday the 23rd, Tottenham at home, Everton away, Southampton at home, and then you move that on to one of the teams that's got an extra fixture in the midweek, or you hold on as a differential. So, unfortunately, we are conditioned in this game to think, I need additional fixtures. Plus, how many of the teams have we done really, who are doing really well, have we not mentioned? Those were the extra fixtures. City, Liverpool, United, Brighton, Newcastle. The majority of the teams have been interested in all season anyway. The one that doesn't have the extras is Arsenal, but there is a point to go and buy this Sunday. And my intention on Sunday is to sell Harry Kane for Gabriel Martinelli. Get him for West Ham, Southampton. And then the thinking is that switching of the budget between Saka at 9.5 and Martinelli 8. So I'd have kept Saka. I'll probably keep Martinelli through the season. Opens up a few more different things for me in terms of choice. So I'll be going into Sunday and next Friday with 4 Arsenal. I'll have at least 2 Liverpool in place for Liverpool Forest on Saturday the 22nd. That might be 3, but it probably won't be. And then I'll be coming off the Arsenal that day for more Liverpool. So Konate's on radar for me. As I said, that Maddison move maybe to go back to him again or an alternative. Say if Iheanacho plays at the Etihad and scores, I'm going to fucking go and get him, Suj.
Well, Brendan Rodgers is not in charge, so maybe he'll get minutes. We don't know.
So it is unfortunately the familiar names. Like nobody really wants me to board them and go, do you know what? Wolves' next 4 is okay, for example, and like you're not. We said yesterday their last 12 goal scorers have been 12 different players.
Where'd you go?
Nah.
Understood. Cool. Yes, let's talk about the tiering points from the games at the weekend. If anything stood out for you that you'd want to point at, and we can look at some of the questions we've had in on Twitter as well.
A few little bits. We'll come back and do captaincy as well. So, as you said, Bruno Fernandes shot tier and passing tier. Probably the surprising number is the volume of that passing, 88 passes. And that's obviously he played a much deeper role, so that may not stick. 9 saves for Jordan Pickford. And this is what I speak about. Like, that Thursday, if you want to dip in and chain it, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Sean Dyche teams, right? How many times have we deferred and gone, oh, fucking hell, Sean Dyche team has a single game day just by Pope? Well, it's now Pickford instead, isn't it? Passing tier again for Tyrone Mings against Nottingham Forest. And Ezri Konsa just got into that as well. I suspect Villa's passing numbers will probably come down in forthcoming weeks. But the next few, Newcastle, Brentford, Fulham, I think whatever you've got from there, you're hanging on. No interest in Forest at the moment. Nick Pope did make 5 saves himself at Brentford, which obviously include that penalty save. There was a shot here for Isak, tackles for Joel Linton, 4 shots on target for Ivan Toney, which obviously included 2 penalties. David Raya was in the saves again, but of course, own goal. That's something else that didn't help my game week. You mentioned yesterday, Suj, about Fulham's big passing numbers against West Ham. Tim Ream, 90, Tosin Adarabioyo, 78, and Paulinho with a rarely cited passing tier. But the tackle tiers haven't been there since he got back available. And I think they obviously have the extra fixture with Liverpool Wednesday the 3rd. And again, with Paulinho, the extra fixture doesn't matter so much. But I just couldn't make the case for him at this stage of the season to pick over a Solly March. Unless you really are struggling for the money. Billing and Solanke with shots for Bournemouth. Timothy Castagna tackles. No passing here for the Leicester guys, despite the fact they were trailing in that for long periods, which I'm a little bit surprised about. They won't become more passing orientated under Dean Smith, by the way. If anything, it will be less. The surprising one from the Tottenham-Brighton game, the only Tottenham player with a tier was Lloris saves, but as I said, Lewis Dunk's passing number, 63.
Very low, yeah.
Staggered. I mean, no one's complaining that he's still at passing tier, but staggered that that's all it was. But there is a giveaway in the fact that Pascal Gross, 77. And that's because, to be honest, Brighton were able to sustain territorial advantage so much because Tottenham didn't have pressure on the ball that they didn't need to. Quite often when they do get a bit of pressure, they default and go backwards to him.
Right.
Didn't need to. So that's why I think it was lower than originally expected. From the Wolves-Chelsea game, Nunes and Gomez in tackles. Enzo Fernandez, special, mate. 79 passes, 4 tackles in it again. Big Manchester City numbers at Southampton. Ruben Diaz, 104. Ruben Diaz is going to be regularly near that number in games that he's going to play because Aki and Akanji are playing so much wider than him. What they did actually last night was you've seen Stones coming from right back into centre back. They did it a little bit different against Bayern Munich last night, where John Stones went from centre back into that midfield position next to Rodri, and Akanji and Aki stayed very wide. They were in passing as well. Akanji 76, Aki 62. Who gets the more of them tends to depend on which way City want to build the majority of their attacks. On Saturday, it was more down the right-hand side, which is why Kevin De Bruyne was very close to passing, and Ilkay Gundogan was also in it. 3 shots on target for Jack Grealish. I think it's we spoke about him a lot on the FPL pod, but I think it's a very interesting differential for this period. But I feel like
8.6 million, it's not bad.
The City attack period, I think Gundogan's decently priced as well. I think at this stage, like if I want to go back into City for whether it's the Arsenal, Fulham, West Ham fixture, maybe even the Leeds fixture, I think at this stage, I go with one of them rather than Rodri. I know Rodri scored last night. He could have scored twice, actually. But I think at this stage, I'd go for one of them with the upside rather than Rodri. For Palace, obviously, mauling of Leeds at the weekend. Mark Gay, 61 passes, just about got there.
Scrapes in.
I think what happens with them, and we spoke about this a lot at the start of the season, where teams are very conscious of Joachim Anderson's distribution, whereas Gay's over shorter distances, so they're not bothered about Gay having the ball in quite the same way, whereas Anderson can ping one over the top. And it does lead to, in many games, those who have tactical discipline structure against Palace, it tends to lean in that in those occasions, Gay tends to have a bit more of the passing. Something to note, if you're looking for a Palace defensive, I guess there is a case to look at them again if perhaps you're coming off an Arsenal player after the Southampton game. Think, well, I want to move Zinchenko to a different defender or something like that. Yeah, you could look at Palace for a little bit. Leeds, no real interest. McKennie and Rocker both in tackles, so too Junior Ferber. So I was saying Sam Johnson did make 7 saves in that game, despite the domination he had in the second half.
Dad was right for the first 20 minutes, mate.
He was, yes. That's a nod to those who listened to yesterday's pod. No passing tears at all in the Liverpool-Arsenal game. Ramsdale saves, Partey tackles, the only returns for Arsenal players. Alisson saves, Salah shots, Konate and Trent tackles for Liverpool. Konate was very, very good in that second half. Really aggressive off the ball. Not surprised to see him land in the tackles. And he's the defensive player that's most of interest to me, Suj.
9.2, even over Van Dijk.
It's cheaper. I can't make a justifiable case to actually spend more on Van Dijk over Konate at the moment. I think Konate should have scored at the weekend as well, right? He's equally as much of a threat. He's a unit himself from set pieces and that. So I think Konate is a really interesting one over this period, but I do get that most people watch Liverpool and go, oh, I don't want to hear that defensively. But again, from Monday night, Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Tottenham, Fulham, Brentford, then clear escape points. You got 6 fixtures there, which will include potentially a couple of captaincies. I mean, I think anybody who's probably not got Mo, despite the penalty miss, is probably going to go and get him Monday night, I think.
Cool. We've got a few questions in on Twitter that we can cover off captaincy as well. Yes.
There's not huge debates here, I don't think, but Haaland Saturday will obviously be the most. Would you buy him for this one game if you didn't have him?
Yes. I think especially if you're in the top like couple of thousand, because the potential risk of damage if he goes off is huge. Let me just have a click. 71% in the top 1,000, 66 overall.
So he actually got people good gains on Saturday for those who had.
I think I would, I would.
No, I'm not doing it for one game. Don't justify that. I'd probably be sacrificing. I'd have to probably sacrifice Ollie Watkins. I'm not doing that. He's got Newcastle and Brentford away, and I'm probably captaining him against Fulham.
You can't go from Rashford to him, no? Oh, you sold him.
Sorry,
Rashford. Yeah, you already sold him. Sorry, yeah.
So, I mean, could I really thump it around to sacrifice something else? A Brighton player? I mean, I don't have the money in the bank to do that anyway. I'm not taking out Arsenal players. I'm not taking out Kane for the sake of a versus on one single day. It's not like Kane can't outscore Haaland. He probably won't, admittedly, but no, I'll captain Harry on Saturday against Bournemouth and then move him on. I won't be making a transfer on that personally. If you're sitting there with you've got Rashford and he's ruled out, then I think there's a sort of thing, there's a temptation where you can kid yourself and go 2 for 0, sell him again and come back again, or just leave it be. But it's more money to be leaving in than rather say, I'm just going to leave Duncan March there to come back for Brighton's fixtures. Haaland's obviously taking up more of your budget to do that. But yeah, he's definitely the best captaincy. But I'll be on Kane Saturday.
Sunday. Now, I know Man United have obviously got Nottingham Forest away. Bruno is in a number of teams. Rashford, obviously, is the clear standout, but we've got to assume that the likelihood is that he won't play. I'm going to go with an Arsenal player, James.
As will I, because I certainly wouldn't be buying Rashford back on Sunday. I'll let that go and come back for the Tottenham game on Thursday, the 27th. But I think you probably answered the question here, Suj, in terms of who. So I'll be sitting there with Zinchenko, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, most likely on Sunday. Zinchenko, I know, almost definitely hits passing tier against you. You have a scoring problem.
And we let the opposition have the ball for as long as they want problem.
Yeah,
I mean, look at it against Fulham. We talked about it yesterday. It's about 77%.
I think game state may affect that. I mean, the longer Arsenal go without scoring, or if they are behind, the more these passing numbers will obviously be up. But I'm more interested in terms of who you think will play fullback for West Ham on Sunday, considering you went with Soufal and Cresswell at Fulham on one and kept a clean sheet. Do you think you'll stick with that?
No.
What do you think he'll do?
Because
I think this answers the Saka versus Martinelli dilemma for Sunday.
I think Soufal will still stay right back.
Okay.
But I think he will switch to a back three, which is what we do. Like in games where we are going to be more aggressive and go to win the game, he'll play a back four. Forest, for example. Fulham was a game where we went to where we wanted to win that game. Arsenal's different kettle of fish. I think he'll switch to a back three, which would be a Bonazuma and a Ged, Emerson left wing back, and Soufal right wing back, just because he'll want to be defensively more solid. Obviously, we have a game on Thursday before then. It's away in Belgium, so it's not a big trip, and it's also the early games, 5:45 game, not the 8 o'clock game. But I think that it will go back to a back three, back five, whatever you want to call it. So Emerson. If it was me, I would go on the right side.
Okay, it's worth saying we will see the teams. I think this is close enough that the West Ham lineup may well dictate who we should captain from an Arsenal perspective. If it's a back four and it's Cresswell and Soufal, does that make you want to captain Saka over Martinelli?
Well, I'm likely to own Jesus, and I think I want to go Jesus. But okay. Yes, it would. Soufal is aggressive and in your face, and he will be right in Martinelli's face all game. Saka could tear Emerson a new one potentially. I mean, that's not to say Martinelli can't skin Soufal, but it'll be a very combative afternoon for Martinelli. Whereas Saka, he might be able to play a bit more.
But the other thing is obviously now Jesus is back in that team. You look at the second goal at the weekend. Obviously, I know Jesus is obviously in the centre position and Martinelli's out left, but that could easily be the other way around, where they cross over so much and Martinelli ends up in more central areas. And I think movement against a side like yours is quite important. I think if Cresswell's playing, that'll lean me into Saka. Otherwise, I think I'd probably go Martinelli at the moment.
Okay. I mean, either way, I'd pick any Arsenal player over a Manchester United player. I really think it's gonna be fours, mate. 4s or 5s for Arsenal.
No, I'm not so clear on that. I think like for those who keep Rashford, if it becomes clear Rashford's available and is going to start, I'd still go Rashford. Forest are a fucking mess, mate.
But they're at home.
And?
They're different at home. Different environment. I know Arsenal away as well.
Went there and won. And it took them a while, but it shouldn't have done.
I mean, Newcastle are third in the table, mate. So that's a good team beating a bad team.
United are fourth.
Yeah, I get it. I just think Arsenal are perfectly set up to. When West Ham cave, we cave, and it doesn't happen often. But this is a game where I think if they get 1 or 2 up, they're gonna just run riot. So I'm gonna go Arsenal, even if Rashford is fit. I'm gonna go with an Arsenal player.
Monday night.
Salah. I'll be buying.
I was going to say
I'll be buying, but Salah for me.
And what's your Liverpool plan, just generally?
Salah plus a defender, which was going to be Van Dijk. You have got me second guessing Konate, but that's mainly. I'm thinking, well, how do we know Konate is going to play every game over Matip?
Because it's much better defender.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
As it stands, he's playing better than Van Dijk is. So I think Konate is an interesting one that you've thrown my way. But I'll be buying 2. I'll be buying Salah plus a defender.
Yeah, the final Hail Mary of my season, I think, is steaming into Liverpool. But there's every chance I'm not adding any more on Monday, maybe, because it might be quite a few Arsenal moves to Liverpool Saturday, 22nd, maybe. But I think Alisson, Konate, Salah are very good gets. Darwin Núñez is a bit punty at the moment, because he's obviously carrying a little bit of a knock. The benefit is, unlike it was for me when I bought on Sunday, you will see the team against Leeds. You can make your choice. Listen, if you've got the luxury to be buying Virgil van Dijk, then by all means do it. He probably will play every game left. And in terms of his distribution, he's got more range than Konate. And it's worth saying as well, adding a note, that their passing tiers haven't been off the scale recently. But you look at the fixtures they've got left, and, you know, Gay's picked up passing tier at Ellen Road at the weekend. Can Virgil van Dijk and Konate. Javi Gracia's leads is very different to Jesse Marsh / Marcelo Bielsa leads, to say yes. Forest at home, do they probably hit it? Yes. West Ham away? Yes. Tottenham at home? Yes. Fulham at home? Yes. Brentford at home? Yes. They could, in all of those fixtures, hit passing tier those defensive guys. It's not to say that they will. And obviously Trent Robertson, you know what you get when you're getting them, except you don't this year because it's not been in the normal supply that it is. But if you're looking for differentials over this period, yeah, they'd be right near the top of your list, but it's expensive. It's expensive and you're probably not going to captain it over Mo.
Cool. Okie dokie. Let's get into some of these questions that we've had in on Twitter, James. There's not too many. I think they all know that they should be sending their questions in on a Monday to a different show.
But because we never cover those ones.
No, I mean to Paul and Fergie.
Oh, right, I see.
They stop asking us. Michael Harlan, not related to Erling, says he's thinking of going Zinchenko captain on Sunday. What are your thoughts? Well, it's a baseline of 4 or 5 points, so it's safe. West Ham could score. I don't doubt that, but I'm going to go attacking Arsenal.
I think there's every chance that's a 10-pointer for Zinchenko on Sunday, to be honest. I think he's certainly part of that conversation. If you fancy an Arsenal clean sheet, I think if you don't, you still go for one of those attacking guys. If you really fancy the clean sheet, then yeah, I don't mind that at all.
FF Thinker, going for April Manager of the Month, who would you move Ramsdale to after the Southampton game? Sarr, Raya or Fabianski, maximising 3 games before a final transfer off on the 30th of April. I should just add on that April Manager of the Month. I started, set my team up. I skipped City on the first day. Who did they beat 4-1 that day? Is it 4-1?
Southampton.
Yeah.
Last week.
I decided to skip it.
Oh, no, when they beat Liverpool, sorry.
Sorry, that Liverpool game. I decided to skip it because I didn't then want them. Sorry. What am I talking about? That
April
Liverpool
Manager
game,
of the Month.
No, that Liverpool game was on
Saturday, April the 1st.
Saturday. Was it the 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want them after that. So I decided, let me skip them and steam into Arsenal the day after. Yeah. And I was so far behind after the first day, I just sacked it off. But I'm 50, 60 points. I can't be bothered now. It's too much work to figure out.
Are you going to have a go in May?
Yeah.
I told you not to bother with this month because Ian Parrin was doing this month, right? Don't bother.
Well, yeah.
Where is he? Oh,
I don't know.
I can't see him on the leaderboard. He's proper slacking, is Ian? I bet he's 21st. Yeah, he's in and amongst the mix. I know Sean Thorpe, one of our patrons, is second there. Good lad. Yeah. What was that? Oh, goalkeeper. Right. So you basically want a goalkeeper who's playing on the 29th, I'm guessing then.
Sarr, Raya or Fabianski, maximising 3 games before a final transfer off on the 30th.
Raya, I think.
He's been super consistent. I think so
yeah.
too. Should there be which of Jesus, Saka, or Martinelli would you captain Sunday? We've talked about this. If you own Jesus, I mean, he's a great shot. His movement's going to be a right handful for West Ham centre backs.
I mean, the thing that's worth saying as well is the ownership will point to the majority will be on Saka. He's something obviously to bear in mind, I would say.
Agreed. Kelvin, would you move off Brighton temporarily for an Arsenal midfielder? McAllister specifically, if you had 12 transfers left. So that's coming off, getting West Ham, Southampton, and then maybe going back to Brighton for the Nottingham Forest game.
I don't like that because Arsenal play that night. City and Arsenal on Wednesday 26th could be fucking 4-4, mate. Like if they both just throw punches at each other.
2-0, 12 transfers, not worth it.
I mean, I think that in principle, selling a Brighton player for an Arsenal player on Sunday is absolutely fine. The going the going back point's quite tricky. Might be that you're making another move off of Arsenal Saturday the 22nd and then making another move to get a Brighton player on Wednesday the 26th. It's probably more something like that rather than an on and off, because the going back bit is actually quite awkward.
Yep. Colin Johnson, when to move off Raya or Kepa? I want City now. I don't feel like a blank in sky as they did play midweek game week 39. They played midweek game week 39.
I think if I had Kepa, I'd go to Alisson Monday. As I said, that Raya one's closer. That period where Brentford play Villa, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea only play Brentford. That's the difference. So if I had Kepa, I'd be looking to sell him probably to Alisson on Monday, as long as it works with the rest of your structure.
Okay. We have a question coming in from Dan Stewart. It was a disaster prior, but would you consider the City defence triple up on the 30th of April with the back four seemingly settled in comparison to pre-World Cup? I'm talking Edison, Aki, and Akanji. They have volume and have hit form at the right time of the season.
Yeah, Akanji and Aki especially at those prices. Yes, absolutely right on radar.
You think they'll play every game? Well,
can't guarantee that, and listen, we might think different when we get there in a couple of weeks. But right now, the idea of going in for Fulham, West Ham, Leeds, I mean, once you've done that, you probably stay until the end of the season. There'll be extra fixture in there as well. Yeah, right on radar from literally then Sunday the 30th. I think when we get there that week before Aki Akanji, I think we'll be talking about a lot.
Ian Parrin, not specifically a pure Sky question, but how embarrassing is it for the Premier League, the police and Sky not to realise they had an issue with Arsenal-Chelsea until less than 3 weeks before it was due to be played?
Wholly. It's more concerning.
Unsurprising either.
I mean, listen, Arsenal-Chelsea, 2 London clubs. Obviously, we know that there's people who will have... I can't get it all year long, and I'm sure a lot of people do. It's like, can this fixture move? And if someone had asked me, say, I want to get flights for Arsenal-Chelsea, I say, well, it's been moved to 5:30. You're right now. Once it's moved, you think that's it. Considering there was no, you get certain ones, like I've said with the Man City, those 2 Sunday games, you know, one of them's going to move back to the Saturday, almost definitely now. That one, you just go, that's it. Forget about it. It's really bad. Because once the TV fixtures are announced, you think, right, that's great. And again, it's 2 London clubs. But I'd say it's not so bad. But there's definitely people that will go, oh, God, I can get a ticket for Arsenal-Chelsea. I'm going to fly in and stuff like that. It's really bad. If it had been the Northern team, say United were playing at Arsenal, and, you know, as soon as 5:30 Saturday, book the trains, fucking get last train back at 8 o'clock or whatever. And then you move it to a Tuesday. And then you got tight time off work as well, would be worse. And I think because it's a London derby, they've gone, we can get away with this. But it's not on. It's really, really not on. So just keep disrespecting fans in this way over and over again. Like I said, when it moves to the 5:30, the police would have had to give that the thumb up. As I said as well, the cynic in me thinks this is brilliant for Arsenal. Ooh, a little bit more space. I don't know. Maybe even Arsenal have requested it.
Nah.
Come for me.
The last question of the show is going out to JT, James, who is currently sitting in 5th overall.
Nice.
A whole 31 points behind Fergie Paul in first spot. Question is one that we probably can't answer. Roughly when would you plan, if you're sitting 5th, roughly when would you plan to use all your transfers? We don't know how many you got. So can't really answer.
I think he means at what point would you say, right, I'm happy to run out?
Right.
Can't answer that now because it depends a little bit on how the fixtures lie on the weekend of 37. So if we assume Man United, Chelsea and Brighton, Man City will go into that midweek afterwards. But if say City play on the Sunday in that week when they've got Chelsea at home. So if at that point on, say, Sunday the 21st of May, City then have got 3 fixtures left and there's teams have only got 1 fixture left, that's the end right there. Sunday the 21st.
Cool. Right, James, I think that is a wrap. That's all the questions we've had in on Twitter. We've covered off captaincy and the tiering points and what's going on with the fixtures as well. if you have enjoyed this episode of Sky Fantasy, Planet Sky FF, whatever we call this show where we chat about Sky Fantasy football, you might want to consider joining up to our Patreon, patreon.com/Planet FPL, where you get access to a Slack channel, which has a lot of active and engaged Sky managers, as well as access to James's fixture planning spreadsheet, which is particularly useful when planning out when you might want to use the transfers and seeing the 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s and so on. Other than that, though, as we get closer to the end of the season, good luck. Nice to see so many of you doing well, and we'll be back next week. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Good luck. Cue music, please, man. Sharp.